What's going on, everybody? Eric Bourassa here, and today I want to attempt to solve the number one problem facing every guitar player, or at least in my experience, from all the students I've worked with and that my team has worked with, the number one problem that comes up over and over again, and that is having a focused practice schedule. Just knowing what to do, what to focus on, and for how long. And so this isn't going to necessarily solve your immediate problems with figuring out what to do. You're still going to have to do some of the work and figure out exactly what to work on. But I'm hoping that this gives you a framework of what to do. So let's check this out. This is a practice sheet I put together. And you will be able to download this there's a link in the description below, so you can get this and print as many copies for yourself as you want. Here at the top, this is really important. You want to post some kind of a long-term goal, right? So we want to start with the end in mind. What do you ultimately want for yourself as a guitar player? And then work backwards from there. So it may, for some of you, just be, it might be just learning a few songs. You may just want to play some of your favorite songs. For others, it may be that you want to be able to play in a band and write and record your own songs. For others, it may be to become a professional musician. So whatever that looks like for you, is no matter how embarrassing or dumb it seems, like you'd be afraid to share this with people because they'd laugh at you, write it down. That should be your long-term goal. Not what you think you can do, but what you really want to do. Okay, so now let's go to the short-term goal. The short-term goal should be something that you can achieve in the next, 60 to 90 days with regular practice. So it might be to increase your picking speed by 20 beats per minute on 16th notes. It might be to memorize every note of the fretboard. It might be to be able to play the solo to Stairway to Heaven, or just play the riff to Seven Nation Army, right? Something along those lines. And you may have several short-term goals. You should really just have one long-term goal, but you could have 2 or 3 short-term goals. Okay, so now looking at the chart, in week 1, you notice there's only day 1, day 2, and day 3. So the goal is not to only practice 3 days a week. It's that on days 1, 2, and 3, you repeat that for days 4, 5, and 6, and then you give yourself a day off, or you just have a day where you get to do kind of whatever you want on the guitar. So you're scheduling 6 days of practice for yourself. And day 1, day 2, and day 3 might all look the same, but hopefully they don't. I would have them look a little bit different. And I'll show you an example of something I had used for myself a while back. Okay, so for scales, this is an important area of study for most guitar players, right? I've kind of divided the categories into the primary areas of focus for 90% of guitar players. So you're probably going to want to practice scales in some capacity, even if your goal is just to strum your favorite songs. I still recommend getting good at picking individual notes, and that's kind of for another video, but you may decide you're not doing any scales at all. But I would recommend starting with your pentatonic, your major, and your minor scales, and maybe you rotate. Day 1, you're playing in the key of, let me see if I can type this up. You're doing C major 1 octave, okay? And then on day 2, we don't want to just do that again, because that's not going to be probably mentally challenging for you. Unless you really struggle with it on day 1, then stay with just the C major scale. But on day 2, move it to G, right? This is not going to make a huge difference in terms of what is required of you, but mentally it forces you to move somewhere else on the fretboard. So it expands your horizons a little bit. And then maybe on the next day, you do the G major, scale in 1 octave. And then your goal by the end of the week is to play 3 scales at 100 B. I just messed up the whole thing. You could write it in, just write a little bit smaller. I'm not going to change my font size, but it could be. No, I am going to change it. Bump-a-dump-a-dum. Here we go. Let's bring that way down. So 3 scales. Oh my gosh, I made it so tiny. At 100 BPM clean. Okay, so that might be your goal for your scales. We want to get as specific as possible. The more specific you can get, the better. Okay, so then for chords and arpeggios, and again, I don't know where you're at exactly in your playing, so you're going to have to kind of figure that out. But if you want my help or you want the help of my team here at Fort Worth Music Academy, check the link in the description, and I'll be happy to help you out. You can take an introductory lesson with us, and we'll help you start getting this chart going and sort of pinpointing exactly what you need. For chords and arpeggios, for an example, let's say you already have all your cowboy chords down, but maybe you're struggling with bar chords. So let's say for day 1, you're just doing B minor bar chord 15 times, okay? You're just going to cleanly make that chord 15 times in a row. And if it's not clean, it doesn't count. And so then the next day, maybe it is, you want to stay kind of with that shape. So let's go to like D minor bar 15 times. Right, so notice what I'm doing is you're kind of forcing your level of comfort on the fretboard by making yourself move around to different places, and besides, just doing B minor 15 times a day all week long is kind of boring. It's more fun to kind of move it around, and then maybe you do C minor bar 15 times, and depending on your level of focus, you might do it 30 times, you might do it 100 times, but I would start kind of small with something you know is realistic for yourself that you will actually stick to, and then bump up from there. It's like with lifting weights. It's better to start light and then quickly realize, oh, I need to do more weight for the next workout than it is to go too heavy and either hurt yourself or be discouraged because you couldn't do it and then never do it again. Okay, so err on the side of going easier with that. And so maybe your goal is minor bar chord. Your goal is to get the minor bar in perfect in under 10 seconds, right? It takes you less than 10 seconds to finger that chord and make it sound perfect. Maybe that is your goal. And again, I'm just shooting from the hip with this improvisation and songwriting. It may just be to solo 20 minutes E minor pentatonic. You know your E minor pentatonic scale pretty well, but you've never practiced just soloing. So you're going to pick a backing track and just practice improvising to that. And then for this one, ideally, you want to change keys each day. And so maybe we do the key of C minor here. And then on this day, maybe we do the key of F minor, right? And so your goal is here, this is a little bit more nebulous. It's hard to set a really specific goal of like, play an amazing solo, right? That's very subjective. So maybe you just say maintain 20 minutes a day. That's your goal, is just to go through that process. Same thing with songwriting, right? So like for me, my goal, I don't usually have like a songwriting goal. It's usually like how much time I'm going to spend on it, because some days it's super effective and some days it's terrible and nothing comes out. And so I really just have like a timed goal for that. So repertoire, this would be like just learning your favorite songs. So whatever your favorite song is, I would just dedicate, like, I'm going to learn the verse of such song this day, and then I'm going to add the chorus, and then I'm going to add the solo on this day. And then on days 4, 5, and 6, just repeat that process. Or maybe you're working on the whole song on each day, depending on your level of comfort with the song. And maybe by the end of the week, the goal is to play the song perfectly, right? Technique, for the vast majority of adult guitar players that I meet with, the technique they struggle with the most, the ones that play electric guitar, is vibrato. So I would say, just vibrato, probably about 5 minutes a day. And then maybe this one doesn't change. Okay. And your goal is to just master good vibrato. And notice you can kind of overlap some of these as well. So for your technique is vibrato. Your improvisation goal the next week, like let's say you master vibrato here, your improvisation goal may be to solo with vibrato 10 times in a 2-minute solo. And maybe you record yourself improvising, and then you add vibrato to that. So as you go through the weeks, you're going to modify what you're doing. I would recommend writing out 3 weeks ahead of time, and then just modify as you go. Print this out. You can type it in, or you could print it out and handwrite it in. And then I would probably handwrite it with a pencil, and then keep it in your practice area on your music stand, because that gives you some flexibility. You may get to the end of week 1 and say, oh, you know what? I need to change everything I was planning to do for week 2. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know in the comments below. Even better would be to email me, eric@fortworthmusicacademy.com. Again, check the link in the description where you can get your own copy of this. Right now, it's on at the time of this recording, it's on our adult guitar lesson page at fortworthmusicacademy.com, and there will be the link for that. Where this is stored may change down the road. I don't know, but that's where it is right now. And if you scroll down on that page, you'll see a place where it's like, get your free practice plan. And then there's an FAQ down below for what you want to do. I think the only thing that I forgot to add is why it only shows days 1, 2, and 3. And not a full week. So it gives you kind of an example of like a sample practice routine for me, and then what 1 hour daily practice routine might look like for you, and then sort of what each area is, and kind of a basic framework for how to get started. So that's it. That's the practice schedule. I really hope this is helpful to you. And again, if you are not sure what to work on and you feel stuck and aimless in your playing, definitely contact us, schedule an introductory lesson, either online or in person if you're in the Fort Worth, Texas area, and we will sit down with you and help you put this together and then hold you accountable to make sure that you stay on your practice plan. So that's it, and I'm Eric Bourassa. If you guys dig this, like and subscribe for more guitar playing related content and tips, hot tips, and I will see you guys in the next time.